It's time. Time to pick every spread and every total for the final week of the NFL regular season. Welcome to my degenerates, to my jabronis, and of course, to my gridiron gamblers. It's Mitch here with my pick for every spread and every over-under in NFL Week 18. If that sounds good, Gronk, spike the like button, and don't be a jabroni, only be a degenerate. Subscribe to the channel, man, and let's make some money. Now, Week 18 is obviously complicated. You have to figure out who's playing, who's not playing, who's resting, who's starting, which games actually have implications that matter. So we're going to sort through everything. I'm going to let you know if you should bet the game, if you shouldn't bet the game. And of course, guys, I recommend that you check out my best bets every week for the real bets that you should be making. And also, of course, if you're wondering which bets am I making, that's on Patreon. Link in the description. Check it out. Let's go. All right, first game. We have the Carolina Panthers and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I will say, I'm going to be a little quicker on the games that I don't really have any recommendation for, but Carolina and Tampa is certainly an important game. So let's break it down. First of all, I wanted to wait an extra day to process and talk about these games here on Money Mitch. I made my picks on the bottom line view, but in this video, I make both my spread pick and my total pick. But I also wanted to give you guys like the most information I possibly could because of the injuries that it's hard to sort through with New Year's Eve and New Year's Day and all that stuff and short week, but not really a Thursday night game. It's a different schedule a lot of the time. So when looking at Carolina-Tampa, Carolina is mostly healthy. They don't really have any impactful player that is out for this game. When it comes to Tampa Bay, though, there have been a couple reported injuries for Saturday. Jamel Dean and Anthony Nelson are both out. Now, those players are significant. Jamel Dean is the best corner on Tampa Bay. He's been the best corner on Tampa all season. He's been their interception generator. He is a veteran, but he understands this defense very well, and he's also very fast and very long. He's got good size and good speed, and that's a good matchup for who? Tetairoa McMillan. Otherwise, we've seen McCollum kind of struggle this year. Morrison has been just too slow to keep up with a lot of the best receivers in the game. And their other corner, Parrish, is strictly a nickel corner. So I think the Jamel Dean injury pushes this bet over the top for Carolina +3. Because I think Jamel Dean being out, it shifts the potential matchups that the Carolina Panthers will be able to get with Tetairoa McMillan on the outside. Then you have to deal with Jalen Coker as well. And Tampa's also really lousy against tight ends. So there should be some activation for Carolina to throw their two tight end formations out there. Anthony Nelson is also a pretty damn good run defender on the edge. He's very big for an edge defender and sets a good edge. So I think that could help Carolina running the ball as well. Something to look out for just to get to that depth on the Buccaneers on the edge position, which is already not one of their stronger positions. Now, I would say I like the over, and I would say that I like the Panthers. I think this is going to be like very close to the total though. I think this total is very accurate, but the game is in Tampa Bay where I feel like the Bucs play better offensively at home. I think it helps their offensive line. One of the difficulties in the first game for Tampa, I felt like, was picking up the Carolina blitzes. Carolina got them with a lot of stunts, a lot of looping blitzes, a lot of slot corner blitzes, and that kept Baker off his game, and I felt like he didn't play very well. But with all his weapons back, McMillan fully activated, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin looking better recently, Emeka Egbuka, Cade Otton, Bucky Irving, everyone is out there for the Bucs. Now, do they have problems with the interior offensive line? Yes, of course. But Carolina does not have the best pass rush strictly by rushing 4. They do have to blitz to get pressure. I think Carolina can get some pressure every once in a while on a big third down, as they did in the first game, which will help Carolina possibly win this game and cover, as I expect. But I also believe that the Bucs will be able to create some nice passing rhythm. I do expect them to shift more towards a passing game in this game rather than heavily leaning into the run in the first game, which just wasn't very impactful and it just didn't really work. If you look at the Bucs versus the Dolphins as well, Tampa passed the ball pretty well in that game, but they turned it over too often. So if Tampa can avoid some of the mistakes, I do think there's a possibility that we could get a little bit of a higher scoring game than what's expected. Something like 24-23, 27-24, 27-23. I wouldn't be too surprised by that. Neither defense really impresses me, especially in terms of their ability to rush the quarterback. Both of these quarterbacks, when they have time, can deliver and make plays, and both of them are very good at scrambling. I also think both the receiving cores do have advantages. I would say that both the run games are a bit spotty, and I could see both teams struggling to run the ball consistently. I think, though, Carolina, they're facing a weak Tampa's secondary overall pass defense. The Bucs are one of those pass defenses that I feel like Todd Bowles, he's going to try to pack the box to stop Carolina from running the ball because that's kind of what the Panthers' identity is, the ability to run it to open up the pass. But I actually think that if they overcompensate, that will leave some explosives for Carolina to hit on big third and fourth downs, which they've been able to do a lot of times. Carolina is also an excellent underdog when they get points. I think they've actually won every single game this year. Like every single one of their wins is as a underdog on the spread. So pretty crazy stat, but I think that's actually accurate. Like in some of the games they've been favored, they've actually lost. So yeah, I like Carolina here getting a field goal in a game that could come down to 1 or 2 points or 3 points. I mean, I very well could see 24-23. I could see 23-21. This game could be a 2-point game, a 1-point game. It could be 21-20 for all we know. I do think the total is very accurate, so it wouldn't be a best bet for me. If I played anything in this game, I would play Carolina getting 3 points. I would also look at Carolina as a strong teaser leg, as I very much expect this game to be a one-score affair. I don't see how either of these teams gains the consistency offensively to pull away in this game. Both are very familiar. Even when you look at the head coaches, right? Like, Canales was in Tampa Bay like 2 years ago. Like, Todd Bowles and him know each other well. They know their systems. So there's going to be a lot of familiarity, which also breeds close games. So Baker might be able to pull this one out in the end, but I just think Carolina kind of knows what they are more. When you look at Tampa, we don't really know how good they are stopping the run right now. In fact, they're not as good as they used to be. They're not running the ball efficiently. Their passing game is causing too many turnovers, strip sacks, interceptions. Baker is playing too inconsistent. He's playing injured. The offensive line is not protecting on the interior. Carolina, I do feel, has a stronger offensive line. I do feel they have a more bend but don't break defense that actually plays structurally effectively, while Tampa gives up big plays, explosive plays. Like, I think Carolina, they create more turnovers. They play more rigid defense. Like, I just think Carolina has been a little bit more consistent. They've also shown me more recently. The Bucs have won 1 game out of their last 8. Carolina, meanwhile, has beaten teams like the Packers and the Rams. Like, they've at least shown me something here. So I think Carolina is the side. Carolina is the play, including winning the first game in Carolina. So I'll take Carolina to win. I'll take Carolina to cover. I'll take the over 43.5, just sensing that maybe it slightly goes over. But, like, I could see 24-20 Carolina, just barely over 43.5, but I wouldn't bet that. Next, we've got the Seahawks and the 49ers, the game of the week, maybe the game of the year. I mean, this is a massive game. For the 49ers, I think it means much more. Obviously, Seattle has kind of become this team that is known for their reputation when it comes to playing on the road. Like, Mike McDonald has breeded this team. I've used that word twice in this video, which is uncommon for me. But they have become this team that is known for winning on the road. I don't know if it's because of their defense. I don't know what it is, but they don't seem to play as well at home. Now, obviously, that does matter in this game because the game's in San Francisco. San Francisco beat Seattle in week 1 in Seattle. They also beat Seattle in Seattle last year. I was at the game. And then last year, they won in San Francisco, for what it's worth. So last year, they split. This year, there's an opportunity to split, for what it's worth. But I think it matters for home field for San Francisco in the playoffs because it's just a absolute dream scenario for the 49ers, for Kyle Shanahan, for Brock Purdy, for this entire franchise. They could get a bye, get healthier, which is big for the 49ers, play at home in the divisional round and the lowest seed imaginable, then play at home in the NFC Championship if they win that game, and then play at home in the Super Bowl as maybe an underdog in 2 of the 3 games, because a lot of people don't believe in the 49ers, which when a lot of people don't believe in the 49ers, I think that's where you really get the best out of Kyle Shanahan. And that's when I really want to bet on Kyle Shanahan. And I think I've noticed this all year. If you guys noticed, I mean, people had their questions about the Niners against the Bears. People were picking the Bears in that game. You know, people even had questions about the Colts game. And they've had questions about the 49ers all year, including being like 8.5 point dogs at Los Angeles, where they came out on top in that game. So there's been plenty of moments where the 49ers have been questioned this season. And in Kyle's career, I feel like he's always been a better underdog, especially when they're at home. And I look at this game as, I think the 49ers are playing better. I think the 49ers offense right now is by far the best in the NFL. Right now, they're actually putting up metrics that would rival some of the greatest offenses of all time. And Brock Purdy, if you were to stretch out his season statistics, he would be right there with Drake May for the MVP. Brock Purdy's playing the best ball of his career, in my opinion. The Niners have gotten significantly better running the ball over the last month. Their offensive line is low-key playing like one of the best in the league. And if George Kittle is active, that could be the main ingredient to an upset against Seattle. Seattle is one of the worst defenses in EPA per play against tight ends. It's one of the biggest weaknesses of Seattle. The other weakness I would say is their lack of speed in their front. They're not the fastest front seven, which also could play into Brock Purdy's ability to extend plays and run and scramble on third down. We saw that in the first game on the game-winning drive a couple times, but then also I feel like Purdy has just been making some incredibly outside structure, creative plays, and I could see him running for multiple first downs in this game. But the main side that's going to decide this game is probably the other side of the ball, which is Seattle's offense versus the 49ers defense. San Francisco gets that home field advantage. They get Robert Saleh with some ability to really understand this offense. And I think this is where, and this is to me an underrated element of this game, is the 49ers understanding of the Seattle offense. Because it's ran by a Kubiak, and because Shanahan basically tutored this offensive coordinator, he's basically taken not only his father's offense, Kubiak, but then also, Mike Shanahan, Kyle Shanahan's evolution. But the Seahawks kind of run like a dumbed down version in a lot of ways of the 49ers offense and a lot of the grassroots of the offense. And I feel because of that gives Kyle Shanahan and Robert Saleh a great advantage on how to defend certain formations, certain run concepts, certain passing concepts, certain money plays, certain things like tricks of the trade that the Niners might understand about Seattle's motioning, or certain plays that other defenses might not be able to catch up on when they watch the film, like a certain thing that a tight end might do when they check in releases, or a certain play. Like, I don't know, I'm just throwing things out there, but there's this level of understanding about the system that I feel like is a big advantage to the 49ers. Also, there has been reported that it could be a little rainy, and I'm not really sure which side this helps. We didn't exactly see Sam Darnold play well in the sort of rainy game against the Rams. Brock Purdy has had some struggles with rain. It's not reported to be heavy rain, but light rain, it could create a slick ball. I would say that would favor Seattle because they tend to play in more of these type of weather games. But at the same time, I feel like the Niners offense just has so many answers that I don't really know that it would really hurt the Niners this season. Like, I feel like they can run the ball, screen the ball, throw it short, throw it deep, kind of like target the intermediate range. And because Seattle, they tend to play a lot of zone coverage. I do wonder if the 49ers could shift to more of like a quick passing game along with more of a running game and a screen game. But I don't know how bad the rain will be to truly play it as an element of this game. But Seattle is very much shot play oriented, downfield oriented, running the football. And their short passing game kind of consists of like throwing the ball on screens or throwing the ball to tight ends for yards after catch. They don't have a great short passing game. I'm intrigued to see how San Francisco plays Seattle. I do kind of feel like San Fran played extremely well in week 1 against Sam Darnold, but that was with Nick Bosa and Fred Warner. Now, one of the main ingredients for San Francisco's secondary will be back for this game, which I think a lot of people are kind of overlooking. You know, a lot of people just look at the Niners like their defense is terrible. Well, they were missing maybe their most talented man-to-man corner in Renardo Green, and so Green's going to be back for this game. They do have Lenore, who has played very well against JSN, and he can kind of follow him outside or inside the formation. And if I'm guessing right, I do think Robert Saleh is going to put prominence on slowing down JSN, as a lot of teams over this back half of the season have for Seattle. Because Seattle, if you look at their offense lately, the last 8 weeks, the last 7 weeks, they're a bottom 10, bottom 12 offense in the league. Darnold is turning the ball over more. They're not really as consistent. They're certainly bad in first halves. If you guys think of 6 points against the Falcons at halftime, 3 points against the Panthers at halftime last week, there's been numerous outings. The Rams, they were getting blown out. There's numerous games where they haven't exactly looked the best in the first half. And this is also interesting for game script. If the 49ers, even if they don't go down and score every single time they touch the ball like they have been against Indianapolis and Chicago, if they can somehow get a couple early stops and the offense can gain some traction and put up, let's say it's 10-0 by the middle of the second quarter, how is that game going to go? I mean, how much would that help the 49ers in this game? Because we know how good the Niners can be on offense when they get the lead. Then you've got that run-pass balance. Then you've got that play-action stuff that Kyle Shanahan, he starts getting in his bag, and it's nearly an impossible offense to stop. And then you look at the defense where now we can be focused on just rushing Sam Darnold against an offensive line that's a little bit undermanned. Charles Cross is out, their best offensive lineman, their left tackle. The other injury that does impact Seattle is Kobe Bryant, their safety, depth defensive back. That's not a big deal, but the bigger one is Charles Cross. I mean, not having your left tackle, and then your other tackle, Josh Jones, has 2 injuries, an ankle and a knee. He's been limited all week. He's questionable. I'd expect him to play, but that's pretty big. You know, so 2 tackles are beat up or not playing. That could help unlock a little bit more of a pass rush for the 49ers. Like, maybe against this backup left tackle, maybe Bryce Huff can get a couple nice pressures on third down in this game. I'd also look for the interior to be a spot where the Niners might be able to get pressure with Yetur Gross-Matos and Keon White, 2 guys that can get to the quarterback. Keon White's been playing pretty well since arriving from New England. But I look at this matchup and I think that the 49ers can move the ball on Seattle. I think that people are really invested in how poor the Niners defense is, but I don't think people are really looking into the numbers of how Seattle's offense has been playing. And I think there's a chance that in this first half, the Niners can create a game script that heavily favors them in the second half to run away with this game. I'm saying this is a possibility. I would make an argument that it should be a close game because these are often very close games. The Seahawks defense is really good. Their run defense is really strong. But I do think the Niners can throw the ball on them. I think just as the Rams were able to, I think if you can just get sufficient running game just to kind of make them respect it, you can throw the ball on this defense. And I think George Kittle could have a big game. Jake Tonjes behind that at tight end, as I talked about. I think Ricky Pearsall is a problem for this secondary. Christian McCaffrey is a unique matchup out of the backfield against these linebackers. I think this is one of the most challenging offenses for Seattle because of their unique matchups that they have at running back and tight end in the passing game. And I think that's where it's going to be centered. And I could see a lot of Niners long drives because Seattle likes to play a lot of 2 deep in their secondary. And I think a lot of underneath stuff for Brock Purdy, along with some runs, along with some scrambles. I think they'll keep the possession. And on defense, I kind of feel like the Niners are, with the lack of rhythm from Seattle, if they can get 1 turnover, that could turn the tide from Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold struggled against pressure. This is not the Bears offense. They don't have the Bears running game. They don't have the Bears play caller. Seattle has a talented offense for the course of the season, and they've played well over the course of the season. But over the last 7 or 8 weeks, they've barely survived, and it's been because of their defense, right? So we'll see what the injuries are going to be for the 49ers. Ricky Pearsall, I would think, will play. Upton Stout was a full participant at practice. He left the game against the Bears, their nickel corner. He should be able to play. Keon White, I think, is going to be playing. He's questionable. Trent Williams did not practice. Trent Williams would be the one I'd be concerned about. I do think George Kittle will play. I do think Kyle Juszczyk, he's full participant. Renardo Green is back for this game, did not play last week. Yetur Gross-Matos also did not participate. Watch out for that one, but he doesn't have a designation though, so that might have been rest. He's not questionable, so I assume he's not out, so I assume he's playing. Maybe they just rested him. But Trent Williams is the one that I would look out for. That being said, Seattle more so has a stronger interior pass rush with Leonard Williams and Byron Murphy than they do an edge rush. And I also thought Pleasant played really well against the Bears and Montez Sweat, who I would make an argument is better than any edge rusher on Seattle. But yeah, I think obviously if Trent plays, it's huge, but I'm not exactly sure if he will. But that being said, Charles Cross isn't playing for Seattle either. So I think people will be surprised by how Saleh's unit plays in this game. They might have a curveball or two that no one's seen all year for this Seattle offense because San Francisco knows it so well. They might be able to attack something on third down, a pass protection. They might be able to get after the run game in a certain way. And I expect San Francisco to put the pressure on Sam Darnold. So I think the quarterback I trust here is Brock Purdy. The coach I trust here is Kyle Shanahan. The playmakers I trust here are the 49ers. I'm going to go San Francisco. As good as Seattle's defense is, I think the Niners get enough stops to win this game at home and they become the number 1 seed. I will take San Francisco. It probably will be a best bet, but like I said, just like the first game, tease the 49ers. Tease the 49ers up to 7.5. That is money. I guarantee it. 47.5 is the total. Something's telling me to lean under, so I'll lean under, especially if there is rain. I think that the rain will have an impact on the amount of points scored on both sides. So, and the amount of big plays that are possible. And like I said, I think the Seahawks may limit the Niners by them simply limiting the explosives. I kind of feel like the 49ers are going to have to go on long drives. So I could see a 27-20 49ers just under the total of 47.5. All right, next. Sunday, the Saints and the Falcons. Now, this game does matter. The total is 45. The spread is 3.5. Now, Atlanta is going to be my pick. I've been considering it as a best bet. And the reason for that is I think this is a good matchup for the Falcons and a bad matchup for the Saints. I think this is one of those games where it's a divisional game, like how the Saints and the Panthers match up. The Saints swept, right? I think it's the opposite in this case. I'm trying to find the injury report. Do they even? Okay, there it is. 45 is the total. 45 is interesting. I will go with the under 45. I think both these defenses are a bit underrated. I actually think they're the strength of both teams. Atlanta has a really good defense. Like, Atlanta can blitz. Atlanta can get pressure. I really like a lot of their young players, especially Watts. Pierce has played well all year. And Caden Ellis is a dog at linebacker. AJ Terrell, Jesse Bates. They've got a lot of good players. Like, their pass defense is very good. And I look at New Orleans as they have to pass to succeed. They're on the road in Atlanta. I think that's uncomfortable for a rookie quarterback, first of all. The Saints' offensive line is not great. I do think Jeff Ulbrich, who's been great all year for the Falcons, best coach on the Falcons in my opinion, can find ways to scheme up pressure and some loops and some stunts and some blitzes to get home on Tyler Shuck. As good as Tyler Shuck has been, I don't think he's played a lot of great defenses, and I don't think he's played a lot of great teams, and I do like Tyler Shuck a lot. But the Falcons' defense is really good, and their overall offense is really talented. The Falcons are one of the better teams that the Saints have played over this stretch, and they lost to them the first time around. Cousins actually had a pretty good game. But I think the defense of Atlanta at home has definitely been a problem this year for a lot of teams. The Saints can't run the ball, which is tough against Atlanta because that puts Atlanta in a lot of pass-down script on defense, which is where they're very strong. So the Saints just don't have a running game. So I think it's going to be really difficult for the Saints to win this game because I think there's going to be a lot of pressure on their quarterback. And then on the other side, Bijan is just simply spectacular. I think he's going to find a way to run the ball, even on a stiffer defense against the run in the Saints. And then I think against a lot of zone that Brandon Staley likes to sit back there and play, Cousins will find some plays to Drake London and Kyle Pitts, and he'll manage the game and he'll make some nice throws. And I think they'll protect him well enough. The Saints don't have a great pass rush. It's just okay. Plus, the Falcons are at home here. I like the Falcons -3.5. I also think, both these teams are trying, and this game does matter for the other game, Panthers-Bucks. If the Panthers beat the Bucks like I suggested, the game doesn't matter. But if the Bucks do win somehow, then the Falcons winning would eliminate the Bucks and keep the Panthers in the playoffs. So it does matter from that perspective. So under 45, Atlanta -3.5. Injury-wise, a lot of did not participate for the Saints, including Chris Olave is not going to be playing. So that's the biggest weapon, the best weapon on the Saints that won't be playing. For the Falcons, Brandon Dorlus, who did leave last game, that's a tough injury to take. Clark Phillips and Mike Hughes, some banged up members of their secondary, but otherwise they're pretty healthy. So a lot of injuries, though, for the Saints. Look out for that, including Devon Godshaw, Brian Brzee on the defensive line, Nathan Shepard. That's a lot of interior players. So that's big against Bijan Robinson. If they keep this at 3.5, I think this is low-key a very good bet based on the injuries, based on the matchup. I really like the Falcons here. Also, keep in mind, guys, that Kirk Cousins is playing for a potential job next year. Like, he's playing for a job with Atlanta if Michael Penix is out long term, and he's playing for a job somewhere else as a bridge quarterback. Like, keep that in mind. Next, we've got the Dallas Cowboys at the New York Giants. I think this is another potential best bet. I don't understand why this spread is 3.5. I know that Dallas is on the road, not at home. They play better at home. And the total is 50, and I understand Dallas's defense is not good, but I think the Giants' defense is not good, and Dallas is a little bit healthier than the Giants. Dallas might be missing their running back core, but, it's a running back position. Like, Jaden Blue could start. I wouldn't really be that fazed by it. Siobhan Rebel also is beat up at the corner position. He's been starting their rookie. Jake Ferguson might also not play. But mostly defensively, they're pretty healthy, Dallas. Offensive line-wise, I think they're solid. I do believe Quinnen Williams. I do believe, what else? Kenny Clark. I think those guys are going to play. Looking at the Giants, Abdul Carter did not participate. A lot of guys are sick, including Carter. Also, Javon Holland is injured. That's a big one for the Giants. Wan'Dale Robinson, it hasn't been practicing. That's a big one. Dexter Lawrence hasn't been practicing. Theo Johnson hasn't been practicing. Now, some of these guys are sick. Some of these guys are injured. Keep that in mind. But I like Dallas just inherently. I look at Dallas, and Dak plays great in these meaningless games. He's so much better than Jackson Dart. It's not even close. Dallas is not bad against the run, specifically in the middle, in the interior. And the Giants, they're more of an up-the-middle type running team. I think they can handle the Giants' running game. And it's going to be on the shoulders of Jackson Dart, on the right arm of Jackson Dart, to create some throws down the field against a suspect secondary of the Cowboys. But I think the Cowboys, it's really only Wan'Dale Robinson that you got to cover. Like, everyone else is kind of mediocre to bad. I think Dallas is not overmatched on the secondary level or on the perimeter. And I think Dallas is going to get home on some pressures. Andrew Thomas has been put on IR. Remember, their left tackle, their best offensive lineman for the Giants. So look out for Enzaraku and look out for Jadeveon Clowney and those edges to also get home. Dante Fowler to get some pressure. I think they'll just make enough plays defensively in what should be a shootout. I would take the over 50. I look at the other side of the ball. The Giants are historically bad against the run. It doesn't matter who the running back is for the Cowboys. I still think they'll be able to run the ball. CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens, for all indications, are playing. Dak Prescott, all indications, are playing. I'd take Dallas to win this game by a touchdown. I think like 31-24. Pretty high-scoring game, pretty fun game. Meaningless, but I think Dallas will go out there and ride into the sunset of next year, where I expect Dallas to be a very competitive NFC team and possibly even win this division next year with a couple adjustments to their defense. Their offense is going to remain strong. I like their coach, Schottenheimer, and maybe they even go out there and make a splash at their defensive coordinator position. But I think the Cowboys are going to win this game, and I think they want to win this game for the momentum going into next year. We've even heard Dak talk about it. So there it is. Dallas Cowboys probably will be a best bet. Next up, we've got the Tennessee Titans at the Jacksonville Jags. This spread keeps moving in favor of Jacksonville, minus 13.5. 47.5 is the total. I I don't know why it's such a big number. Jacksonville is good, and they are at home here, but I wonder why this is such a big number. Jeffrey Simmons, full participant. Arden Key is not participating. Amani Hooker is not participating. That's a couple big injuries on defense for Tennessee. On Jacksonville's side, Patrick McCarry is not participating. Their guard. So on offensive line starter. I don't really know what to do with this game from a betting perspective. I will take Tennessee to cover. I will take Jacksonville to win. I think that Tennessee's been playing competitively. They're running the ball well. That being said, Jacksonville stops the run well. I think Trevor Lawrence should have a huge game against one of the worst cornerback groups and secondaries in the NFL. But I don't think Jacksonville will run the ball all that well with T'Vondre Sweat and Jeffrey Simmons inside. So a lot will be on Trevor Lawrence to score here and push the ball. I will take the over 47.5 because I do feel like Cam Ward, with a fully healthy offensive line, is going to be able to make some throws down the field against Jacksonville. I think Jacksonville is a susceptible secondary. I think that you can get plays on them, especially with Jordan Lewis out for the foreseeable future and for the playoffs. Jacksonville has a good pass rush, but it's not great. It's not like overwhelming. Now, Jacksonville did do a great job against Tennessee in the first matchup in Tennessee, where I think they only scored like 3 points. But it's just a lot of points. Jacksonville needs to win this game to remain as the 3 seed and to get a home game and to win their division. So it matters for them. So obviously that's why it's a big spread. Tennessee doesn't really have anything to play for. That being said, I like how Tennessee's playing. I like how they're playing inspired. I like how Cam Ward's improving. I like Tony Pollard in the run game. And I like their interior defensive line. I think there's enough here for Tennessee to keep it competitive. So I'll take the points. But I wouldn't be shocked if Jacksonville covered. I'll take over 47.5. Next, 39 is the total, 10.5 is the spread. Texans favored over the Colts. Riley Leonard's the quarterback for the Colts. I would expect the Colts to sit quite a few players here. I don't really know why they would try to push some of their veterans through injuries. Phillip Rivers, he's officially retired again. Thanks for coming back and providing some entertainment. Phillip Rivers, you legend, but I don't know who's going to sit for the Texans. Dalton Schultz has been on the injury report. Kamari Lassiter on the injury report. Maybe they limit those guys. Maybe they keep them out to rest for the playoffs. They will be playing as a wild card team. So, but that being said, the Texans win this game. They're the 5 seed. And why that matters is if you're the 5 seed, you're playing the winner of the AFC North. And you'd much rather play the winner of the AFC North than go to Jacksonville or go to New England. So that makes a lot of sense, right? The Texans also hammered the Ravens, which probably plays in their mind as well. So keep that in mind. They went to Baltimore and beat them by 50. So it probably helps that they want to be the 5 seed. Now for the Colts, it does appear pretty healthy, but Zaire Franklin did not participate. Sauce Gardner did not participate. Maybe they keep those guys out of the game. I'm not sure. I'm not 100%. Again, a game that I wouldn't bet. I think this is too many points. Texans, 10.5 is too many points, considering that they're not a great team winning by margin. I mean, this is a team that almost lost to the Raiders, you know. The Colts do have good coaching. The Colts do have, I think, still, you know, a lot of playmakers. I think they're still going to try. It's a divisional game, you know, so I think they'll still try. I don't really expect much from Riley Leonard. You know, the way that the Texans maybe cover this game is by just a complete defensive, just overwhelming fest of where their defense just allows like 3-6 points or 9 points, and it's like 30-9 or 27-9. I could see that, but at the same time, I would take the under, by the way. I like the under here. Just because I think the Colts defense, they're not easy to run on. And I think when the Texans can't really run the ball, they're not a very good offense. And then on the other side, Texans have the best defense in the league. And they play with a lot of pride and a lot of hunger and a lot of fire, even when the game doesn't matter a ton. But again, it does matter. And they're playing Riley Leonard. So yeah, I like the under quite a bit. That might be a best bet. Minus 10.5, though, I'd stay away from. Next, we got the Jets at the Bills. This game really is like, who cares? And I wouldn't bet it. Total is 38. Bills minus 6.5. I will say, I will take the over 38 because the Bills are resting a lot of their veteran defenders who really need rest because they're old as shit. But then on the other side, you've got Mitch Trubisky probably playing a majority of this game for the Bills, who is a respectable backup quarterback. And the Jets, you know, against basically a backup Bills defense, the Jets also have like the worst defense imaginable. They didn't even have players in the screen when watching Drake May's highlights against them last week. And the Bills backups, you know, the Bills don't already have a good defense in general. The Bills probably will be like playing a lot of vanilla coverages, a lot of easy stuff for Brady Cook to pick apart. And Brady Cook is not good, but I don't exactly expect a full starting offensive line for the Jets. Breece Hall, Adonai Mitchell, enough talent here for the Jets to at least be able to move the ball against a backup defense that's playing cover 2 the whole game. Like, I expect them to be able to do that, right? So I actually think the over is a good look at 38. I will take 6.5. I mean, I don't know. Like, I guess the Jets, because I don't know if the Bills are trying to lose this game on purpose, but the Jets are like a high school team, so I wouldn't trust them with 6.5 points. I wouldn't bet the spread because I don't know. It's just too unpredictable here. But I do like the over 38 just because of what I said. Like, you look at the injury report, Terrell Bernard probably not going to play. Joey Bosa not going to play. James Cook won't play. Josh Allen won't play. Daquan Jones on the defense won't play. Jordan Poyer won't play. That's like 4 starters already. Then you look at, Cam Lewis is kind of banged up. Jordan Phillips is kind of banged up. Tre'Davious White's kind of banged up. Those guys could all sit. I wouldn't be surprised whatsoever. On the other side, Michael Clemens is hurt for the defense. Stiggers is hurt, one of their corners. And so that's already a couple defensive injuries for the Jets, and the Jets defense is terrible. So yeah, over 38 would be the play in that game. Next, 50.5 is the total for Lions. Bears, Chicago -3. Give me the over because this is a Lions in an effort game, and the Bears -3. I'll take the Bears -3. I think the Bears win this game. I think they cover. I think it will be a pretty competitive game, though, a pretty high-scoring game. It is in Chicago. It's probably going to be windy and cold. That does hurt the offensive production, especially from Jared Goff, which is why I like Chicago. But I think Chicago, I like their coaching more here. I think Ben Johnson gives the edge to the Bears necessary to win this game because I think there's like a full circle moment for the Bears as a franchise. Ben Johnson came in there as the little brother, underdog of Dan Campbell, all that sort of stuff. The Bears weren't expected to win this division. This was Detroit's division. Detroit hammered them in the second week of the season. I think there's revenge on the hearts of the Bears. I think there's a point to prove if you're the Bears. Ride momentum into the playoffs. You just lost a tight game against a good 49ers team that just simply you couldn't stop. But I do believe that the Bears, if they win this game, they're the 2 seed, which does matter because they would play the Packers at home. If they drop to the 3 seed, there's a chance they play the Niners again, or they play Seattle, or they play the Rams, and that's not exactly fortunate if you're Chicago. So a big deal for the Bears here to be the 2 seed. I think that's enough motivation, along with all the other factors of Ben Johnson wanting to beat Dan Campbell, wanting to beat the Lions, all that sort of stuff. The Lions want to win too, but there's nothing really to play for. There's no playoff factor. The Lions, if St. Brown gets hurt in this game, is he going to want to come back? Probably not, So, and St. Brown limited. Penei Sewell did not participate. McNeil did not participate. Cologne did not participate. So some injuries on the offensive line, injuries on the defensive line for the Lions. Meanwhile, Jonah Jackson is hurt. That's interesting. Rome Odunze, I don't care about, but he's not going to play probably. Zacchaeus is going to be back, full participant. That's big. Luther Burden looks like he's going to play. That's big as well. So yeah, some receivers for Chicago definitely going to play. Very big against Detroit, who have very bad corners, a beat-up corner position, a beat-up safety position. Lions don't have a pass rush. Bears have a great offensive line. Bears should be able to run the ball like the Steelers did. I think they'll be able to throw the ball with Caleb Williams. Caleb can make more plays in bad weather because of his legs than Jared Goff. Goff's been rattled by interior pressure. I think Dennis Allen will heat him up with some blitzes. So I think Chicago actually decisively wins this game, but I think it will be a higher scoring game. Next, 37.5 is the total. Give me the under in Chargers Broncos. Just simply Denver against probably a lot of backups on offense. Denver's defense having to win this game to be the number 1 seed. Denver's favored by 12.5. I mean, my first sense is like take the Chargers because Denver doesn't cover spreads this big, but at the same time, like if the Chargers are resting a bunch of players, then I guess Denver will win by like 14. I don't know, but like Denver couldn't cover against the Chiefs with a bunch of players out. Now that game was at Arrowhead. This game's at Mile High. It's Trey Lance who has talent, but isn't exactly a great quarterback. I could see this game being like the most boring game of the week, like 24-6. Like I could see it being pretty brutal. I would expect the Broncos to be up in the third quarter and start resting some guys in the fourth, which is always scary with a 12.5 point spread. Dre Greenlaw hurt. That's the only one really for Denver. Meanwhile, there's going to be a lot of guys that aren't playing. Justin Herbert, Derwin James, Khalil Mack, Hampton, Keenan Allen. These guys might all sit in the game. Thule could sit. So, under, just because you got Jesse Minter, who's a good defensive coordinator, a lot of Chargers defenders that are going to want to fly around and disrupt Bo Nix. And I think that foundationally, schematically, the Chargers will try. And I think they'll try to get something on the Broncos with their backups. And I think that Denver is offensively challenged at times, so I like the under. And then also Denver's defense should just completely overwhelm backup offensive line, backup receivers, backup quarterback of the Chargers. It should be pretty ugly. So under 37.5. Next, we've got 36.5 for the Chiefs and Raiders. Give me the under. And then also Chiefs minus 5.5. I don't know. I think both teams are sort of like playing players here, but the Raiders are kind of losing on purpose. The Chiefs might try to also lose on purpose, but like only because they want to spite the Raiders. I don't know exactly what's going on here. I can't give you a recommendation. I guess I'll take the Chiefs, like 20-14 or something like that. But yeah, it's going to be lower scoring. I'd expect the Chiefs to rest guys that are beat up or have been grinding through injuries. But the Chiefs are still the much more talented team with the much better coaching staff, still playing with pride. The Raiders are trying to lose on purpose. There's nothing else I really need to say about this game, to be honest. Next, we have the Cardinals at the Rams. I like the Rams minus 7.5. I like the over 46.5. One, the Cardinals are terrible on defense right now. They are allowing 40 points, it feels like, in every second game. I feel like they've allowed 40 points 5 out of the last 7 or 8. Like, it's been like the Rams might cover this by themselves if they really want to. On the other side, the Cardinals still have Trey McBride, who's going to play, and Jacoby Brissett's respectable. The offensive line is shit, and that's where I think the Rams will be able to create a lot of pressure. The Rams also will shut down the Cardinals' run. But you've got a couple playmakers out there on Arizona that can make some plays. Rams play a lot of zone coverage. Rams have been very bad on defense over the last month or so, like 30th in the league. They've been allowing about 30 points a game. So I think the Rams can actually get sliced up a little bit in the first half. Maybe even late in the game if the Cardinals are trying to put up points late to backdoor cover or something, but I don't think it will be even close. I just think they'll be trying to play with pride. But the Rams, Jonathan Gannon's trying to coach for a job. There's part of that, but I think the Rams are going to come out and this is going to be like 24-7 at half. I think it's going to be like absolute like demolishing. Like the Rams want to go out there, prove a point. They sucked against the Falcons. They lost to the Seahawks. They've lost 2 straight. I think McVay, Stafford, they're going to get back to the bread and butter. They're going to run the ball. They're going to throw the ball, big explosives, Puka Nacua, all of it. Then at halftime, they're going to want to sit Puka. They're going to want to sit Stafford. But Jimmy Garoppolo is the backup, who's a good backup. So I'm not even worried about the spread. I think the Rams win. I think the Rams cover. Rams are a great teaser. I think they're going to play players because if they do win and the Niners do lose, then that means they avoid Philadelphia and the Rams would play the NFC South. So that is a big deal. That being said, if the Niners win, I think if it doesn't really matter. Seattle would still go to the NFC South team. But that being said, it still matters for the Rams' momentum purposes. So I'll take the Rams. McVay said starters are playing. So I'll take Rams minus 7.5. I'll take over 46.5 based on the current state of the defenses. Next, we got 45.5 for Patriots, Dolphins, 10.5. New England is favored. I don't know what Mike Vrabel is trying to do here in terms of playing players, not playing players. One thing I do know is he needs to get his team in shape because Christian Barmore, Stephon Diggs have gotten into some personal trouble, and that could play a role in terms of just getting them ready, mentally sharp, mentally focused for this game. Could that have effects? That being said, I don't really know what New England's going to do in terms of playing Will Campbell, who is full participant at practice. Maybe they want to get him some reps, but I could also see them pulling him early in this game for the playoffs to rest him because he's coming back from an injury, his knee injury. Hunter Henry is kind of a little beat up. Will they sit him? Harold Landry probably will sit again. Robert Spillane will probably sit again. Milton Williams is limited. Will they want to push him and try to see if he can play a little bit? The game matters for New England because if they win, they're the 2 seed. But it doesn't matter significantly to the degree where, like, because Denver's going to beat the Chargers. So it's not like New England's still playing for the 1 seed. Really? I mean, unless Trey Lance pulls a miracle with a bunch of backups around him, it's unlikely. But yeah, I'll take New England because it's Miami in the cold in Gillette in January with Quinn Ewers, a quarterback that played at Texas. I don't think that the Miami Dolphins are going to really want to be there. And I think New England, Drake May is playing as far as I know. They're probably going to be able to move the ball through the air pretty effectively. And I think New England's going to want to play hard, play fast for at least a half of this game. And I could see it getting out of hand, kind of like the Jets game, to where New England's able to rest some guys by the fourth quarter. That would be my thought. I'll also take the over 45.5 just because, like, I don't really know. I'm just going to take the over 45.5. I guess just because, like, New England hasn't been great against the run lately without Robert Spillane, Milton Williams, and if Miami, gets their run game going, maybe they have some success on offense. But I'll take New England. I'll take the over. Next, Washington and Philly. Philly is favored by 4, and the total is 39. Philly has already said that they're going to sit a bunch of players. Jalen Carter might not play now. He's not 100%. They might rest him, I would assume. I don't really have anything here. Is Mariota playing? Because I don't think he's playing. I'll take the under 39 because it's in Philly. It'll probably be ugly weather. Looks like Josh Johnson is going to play. Mariota has not participated at practice. So I'll take the under with Josh Johnson. Watch out for McKee, though. McKee is pretty good. This game does matter for Philly, though, so I'll take Philly -4 because the game matters for this. If Philly wins and Chicago loses to Detroit, then Philly is the 2 seed. But if Philly loses on purpose, like they're the 3 seed, if Chicago beats Detroit, Philly's the 3 seed. So there is something to play for because Philly would much rather play at home against Green Bay than playing against the Rams, the Niners, or the Seahawks. At least in my opinion, they would rather that. So that's just what I'm going to play here, that Philly somehow wins this game. It is their backup against Washington's 3rd string, and Philly still has a lot of talent. So, yeah, why not? And I'll take the under. The final game is Baltimore -3.5. Total is 40.5 for Pittsburgh and Baltimore. Give me Baltimore -3.5. On the road at Pittsburgh, Lamar Jackson is set to play. It matters slightly for me for the explosiveness of the offense in the passing game. I think it matters more in the passing game. And then total 40.5, I'll take the under. That might shift. That might go up, though, because Lamar is playing. I'm going to double check that for you guys. But what I like about this game has really nothing to do with Lamar. I think that the Ravens defense is going to shine in this game, I think. 41 is now the total, so I'll take the under. But first of all, Pittsburgh's defense usually does play Lamar pretty well. They rush him pretty well. I think Pittsburgh's run defense has been playing a lot better, and I don't think Derrick Henry is going to go for 200 yards in this game. Zay Flowers probably have a good game. Isaiah Likely will have a good game. I think Lamar will have a decent game throwing the ball, but I don't think it will be overwhelming. And the Ravens do typically turn the ball over once or twice against Pittsburgh and Pittsburgh. On the other side, I do think that Baltimore can stop the run. Lately, they've been really good against the run, and I don't think Pittsburgh without Darnell Washington, their tight end, is going to be able to run the ball. They've also had some backup offensive linemen in there, and they don't have DK Metcalf to create separation against man coverage. Baltimore plays quite a bit of man coverage, and they have an overwhelming advantage on the perimeter in their secondary. Their secondary is strong. Gilman, Kyle Hamilton, Nate Wiggins, Marlon Humphrey. They've got a pretty good secondary. And I think Baltimore can definitely cover Scotty Miller, MVS, the tight ends of Pittsburgh. I don't think they're going to be phased. And so I think Baltimore's defense suffocates Aaron Rodgers. They rally, they tackle with Kyle Hamilton flying around, Roquan Smith flying around, and I don't think they let the Steelers run the ball. And then on the other side, I think Lamar just makes more plays than Aaron Rodgers off script. Zay Flowers can create some plays that MVS can't, and I think Baltimore wins this game. I think they win by like a touchdown, like 24-17. That would be my score. All right, guys, there it is. My totals, my spreads for every game. I hope you enjoyed. Gronk, spike the like button if you did. Don't forget to subscribe, jabronis, and we'll see you on Patreon. Peace.